Today is a demo class for AWS, Amazon Web Services. The agenda of this today class: what is cloud computing? What are the types of cloud? What is data center? What is either physical data center, cloud data center? What are the differences? All this stuff we'll discuss in the demo class. So before we start, what is cloud computing? What is cloud? What is AWS? You need to understand first what is application. Any kind of application. What are the types of application we'll discuss later. I think all of you familiar with what is this application. WhatsApp is an application. Gmail.com, Yahoo.com, all these are applications. Any kind of application, if at all you want to deploy, we need a server. Either physical server or a virtual server. Not only a physical or virtual server, we need an infrastructure. What is the meaning of infrastructure? Nothing but servers, storages, switches, routers, and many more. All these comes under infrastructure. If you want to host an application, we need an infrastructure.
There is an echo in your voice, and voice is not clear right now.
Yeah. Please, all of you, mute yourself. So we want to host an application, we need an infrastructure, nothing but servers, storages, switches, routers, and many more. What are this infrastructure? We'll discuss later. First of all, you need to understand what is an application and what are the types of applications. There are three types. One is called standalone. Standalone application. Web application. And mobile application. Applications are three types: standalone, web application, and mobile application. Anyone knows what is the standalone application? Which are called standalone. These applications are going to install on end user system or client system. In a laptop, there are so many applications. A laptop is a client, laptop is end user system. Example for standalone application: open the calculator. This is called a standalone. In every laptop, desktop, when install Windows operating system, this application by default install, which is called standalone. My application, it won't be accessible from internet. Standalone is what? On local system. It won't be accessible from internet. That is called standalone. Google Chrome is a standalone. So these applications are always installed on client system. Hello. Is it audible? Am I audible, everyone?
Yes,
No.
sir, you are audible, but your voice is very low.
Yeah.
Now is it okay?
Yes.
Okay. These applications will always install on client system or end user system. Example for this, just now we discussed calculator, all these are standalone. Now, web application. There are two types. One is static. The other one is dynamic. Web applications are classified as two types, static and dynamic. What is the difference between static and dynamic? Basically, all the web applications, they're going to host on internet. Still my voice is low.
No.
Is it okay, everyone?
Okay,
Am I
sir.
audible? Okay. So what is this web application? These applications are hosted on remote system and accessed by user through internet. To access this web application, you need a internet access. Without internet, you can't able to access this web application. For standalone, we don't require internet. Deployed on a local system, installed on a local system, we don't require internet. But whereas for web application, because these applications are hosted on remote systems, so we need internet access like gmail.com, yahoo.com. All these are comes under web application, required internet. This web application we never install on local system. We never install on any user system. It always install on remote system. Any example for web application? You take Flipkart. Or SBA, any banking applications. All these are example for web application. Again, it has been classified as two types, static and dynamic. What is static web application? These applications does not require any output from end user. It is only for to display the content. To display the content. Example, this is called web application. We can't able to modify it. We can't able to edit or modify it. It is only for display purpose. No input from the user. We can't edit, we can't modify. This is the example for standalone. In standalone application, there won't be any option register yourself. Provide username password. Give the credentials, login and password. Those options we don't require, we don't have in standalone. It's only for display, just a graphical user interface. Another example for standalone, best example, everyone knows Wikipedia. Nowadays, all the newspapers like Deccan Chronicle, Times of India, we can watch, we can see that content on internet. That is only for display. That is called as a example for standalone. What programming languages they are going to use to develop this standalone? Sorry, not standalone, static. Those are
Java,
HTML, CSS, JavaScript, any other, jQuery,
Django,
React.js, yes, AngularJS, Django, all these are programming languages to develop this static web application. To host the static web application, what is required? I need a web service. Web servers are different, application servers are different. We'll see the difference between what is web server, what is application server. The web servers are in Microsoft, we call it as a IIS. IIS stands Internet. Who is this? Yes, Sujit. Tell me. JavaScript, React are dynamic functional based on language to design a dynamic page. See, basically, these are the languages we can use for both static and dynamic as well. So Windows, we have IIS, Internet Information Service. It is a web server to host the static web application. All Unix flavors, Solaris, HP Unix, IBM EX, Linux, all are Unix flavors. They're going to use Apache. Nginx, HA proxy. All these are example for web servers. Basically, IIS is a service. IIS is a service to host the web server. Apache is a service. Nginx is a service. All these are services to configure web servers. Coming to the dynamic. Dynamic web applications. Basically, the static web application it is going to work on presentation layer. There are 3 types of layers, not 3, 7 types of layers. There are 7 types of layers. We call it as a OSI model. Who are having networking background, CCNA background, CCNP background, or who are completed the degree BTech Computer Science, they are aware of these OSI models. We are not going to discuss in-depth OSI models. We have a separate topic on that in AWS. In the 7 layers, demo session, we are going to discuss only 3 layers. Those are presentation layer, application layer, and data link layer. So the static web application is going to work on presentation layer. It is going to work on presentation layer. It's only for display. Presentation is what? We can't able to modify or edit, only for display purpose. That is called presentation layer. Coming to the dynamic web application. In dynamic web application, along with presentation layer, we need application layer also. Here, presentation layer will communicate with application layer to process the data. Example for dynamic web application, where it asks for input, give the credentials, login name and password. You have a login option. Give the mobile number. Something else. They'll give the OTP. This is called presentation layer. The login as ATM user, it asks for the username, password, PIN number. While giving the credentials, login name and password, it processes the data. That is called as a presentation layer, application layer, which will process the data. All the banking applications, ICICI Bank, SBI Bank, want access application, you have to provide the credentials, login name and password. Those are comes under application layer. We are giving some credentials, login name and password. We are doing a transaction, sending the amount, receiving the amount, checking the balance amount, all this comes under presentation layer. This dynamic web application, it is going to work on 3-tier architecture. It is going to work on 3-tier architecture. What is 3-tier? All these layers comes under 3-tier architecture. Three-tier means a front end, a middleware, and a back end. This is called 3-tier. What do you mean by front end? Front end means you are able to see that. For example, open the Google Chrome. Go to more tools, developer tools. So this is called front end. We are able to see that. There are two types of codes, source code and binary code. Types of code, source code and binary code. Source code means machine language, 0 and 1s. We can't able to understand it. Binary code is a machine language, you can't able to understand. This is called source code, where user can able to understand. This is the HTML, which is called as a front end. We are able to see that. For front end, what do we require? We need operating system, either Windows or Linux. Again, what are the types of OS? What is single user? What is multi-user? What is single tasking? What is multitasking? Where we use Windows family? Where we use Unix family? Again, there is separate topic, separate class. So this is called front end. Front end, we are going to use HTML, Java, middleware, Tomcat. Tomcat is application server, WebLogic, WebSphere. All this comes under middleware tools. Backend, a backend always database. There are two types of database servers, SQL database, NoSQL database. Which are SQL, which are NoSQL discussed later. So this is called 3-tier architecture. So this is my presentation layer. This is application layer. And this one is data link layer. So whenever we give the details, credentials, login name and password, or PIN number, the application layer process the data from the, take the input from the user and process the data to the database server. The read, write, update, all the modifications we are doing at database server, that is because of this presentation layer. So this is called as a 3-tier architecture. Either DevOps engineer or cloud admin or a programmer, developers, they need to understand what are the types of layers and where we use presentation layer, application layer, and data link layer. We don't require in-depth knowledge, but at least understand what are these layers. So dynamic web application, the presentation layer always communicate with application layer. The data which is sending by the user, the data sending by the user using presentation layer, the data will process by application layer. The application layer process this data and check the user is valid user or not. When you give the wrong PIN number, they give the message PIN number is wrong. If you check the database server, if the PIN number matches, it's okay. Otherwise, they'll give the error. So the presentation layer communicate with application layer. The presentation layer communicate with application layer that we call as a API. What is API stands? Application Program Interface. So there is a data center. In this data center, we hosted one server. Install operating system. This is the hardware. On top of that, install the OS. On top of this, install Java. You have a desktop or laptop. As a desktop or laptop. So when you type www.flipkart.com, the request sent to the application layer. Here we configured APIs, number of APIs. With the help of API, here we have it asks for login and password. And here there is a database server. Send the user details to the database server, process the data. So the application layer will communicate with data link layer. Here we have a data link layer for read, write, update, and delete operations in the database. But as an end user, you don't need to understand what is this three-tier architecture. You are the end user. You can access any application without knowing what is three-tier, what is front end, what is back end, what is middleware. But when you are into the operation team, or developers, or cloud admin, or DevOps engineer, you should be familiar with this. What is presentation, what is application, what is data link. So this is about web application. Coming to the mobile application. All of you aware of these mobile applications like iOS, Android. To develop this mobile application, we need a operating system, either iOS or Android. These are called operating system. Supports only for mobile. For laptop, desktop, we require Windows or Linux. For mobile, we require iOS or Android, which are called operating systems. You want to access the Flipkart. You want to access Flipkart from mobile. What we have to do? Install the app, either mobile or tab. We have to install the app for Flipkart. You want to access SBI account? Install SBI app. For Zomato, any food apps, we are going to install the app here from the Play Store. These are comes under mobile applications. Does it mean that a presentation layer, application layer, data link layer going to install mobile? No. Here we have only presentation layer. The application layer again communicates with API and manages the host. What type of APIs here we require? We are going to give order API, login API, payment API, account APIs. All this they are going to set up, configure in presentation layer. So internally, the application layer communicates with data link layer. And these applications will communicate with database servers internally. So without a database, there is no application. Without database server, there is no application. If this application layer want to talk with the data link layer, who is going to write the code? Who is going to write the code? Those are called developers. We call it as a API developer. Those we call it as a API developers. So here we have a database. There are two types of databases. One is SQL database. The other one is NoSQL database. SQL database we have Oracle, MS SQL, Microsoft SQL, MySQL, like we have so many SQL databases. NoSQL database, these are called document oriented database. Document oriented database comes under NoSQL. Example, MongoDB, Cassandra, like we have so many. In AWS, we are going to discuss one SQL database server and one NoSQL database server. How to configure, how to set up. Where we use SQL database, where we use NoSQL database, we discussed. We have a separate topic in AWS that is called RDS. RDS stands Relational Database Service. We have a separate service in AWS that is called RDS. In RDS, we are going to discuss what is SQL, what is NoSQL. We're going to discuss one SQL database server, how to set up, and one NoSQL database server. So to hold this application, we need an infrastructure. This is called as an infrastructure. We have a server installed, Advenced, on top of that Java, and with database server. Apart from this, we require a storage, switches, routers, storages. What is storage? What is switch? What is router? The difference between switches and routers. What type of storage devices we have? All this stuff we discuss in AWS. So before cloud came into picture, all this infrastructure is on-premises data center. All this infrastructure is on-premises data center. What is this data center? How it looks? So these are called data centers, where we have servers, storages, switches, routers. These are called rack. Under this rack, there are so many blade servers. All these are blade servers. The engineers are working in the data center. So this is called physical data center. Every company, they have their own physical data center. So before cloud came into picture, all these infrastructure are on-premises data center. We also call physical data center. The meaning of physical data centers, we'll come to know that where this data center is. For Cognizant, we have data center in Chennai and Bangalore. We'll come to know that where the physical data center is, physical location. But cloud data center, we don't know the physical location. They won't give the Google map. We can't see that in Google map if it is cloud, where we can find out the physical data center for every company. So these data centers, we call it as a on-premise data center maintained by their own organizations. Sometimes, if you go to any company or offices, we'll see that server room. You see the some server room where we have one or two servers. Even small company I have one or two servers. That is called a server room. You want to start a small data center with minimum one server. With one server, no one can start the data center. Why? I need a backup of the server. Any data center, even small data center also, they are going to start with minimum two servers. One is for backup. So I need this physical service. I need a storage. Why do you need a storage? If you purchase the server, say 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs, 20 lakhs, you'll be having only one hard disk, internal hard disk. The maximum capacity is 300 to 500 GB, not more than that. This 300 GB, where we can install only operating system, not for database. The database is going to install in a separate box. That box we call as storage. What is storage? A storage is a box which contains multiple hard disks. You have more than number of hard disks here. Types of storages we have: SAN storage, area network, NAS, network attached storage, dash disk, that attached storage, shared storage box, all this comes under storages. You want to add these two servers to the storage, I need a switch. These servers are communicate with the storage, a physical device. That physical device we call as a switch. And these servers you want access from internet. These servers you want access from internet. Then I need a router. Physical device called router. This is a small setup called data center. Why it is called data center? This is a room which contains servers, switches, routers, and storages. So even you want to start a small business, small application also, you require minimum 2 servers, 1 storage box, 1 switch, 1 router. This is called as a on-premises data center. Even in my office, I have a server room with 2 physical servers. Each server capacity is 2 CPUs with 32 GB RAM. I have 2 physical servers, 2 CPUs, 32 GB RAM, each server configuration. I don't require router because I'm not able to access the server. I'm not going to access the server from internet. These 2 servers are connected to the switch. I don't require the storage because it is my company is not a development company, it's a training. I don't require a separate storage box. I'm not going to develop any application here. So whenever we call to the data center, this is the infrastructure you require. You see IBM, Cognizant, Wipro, TCS, where you can see more than 5,000 servers in data center. 5,000, more than 5,000 servers in one data center. Imagine that how much infrastructure you require. This is called as a on-premises data center. You have a physical access of these resources. Physical data center means what? You have physical access. Server physical access, switches, routers, storage, everything have physical access. What are the challenges? What are the problems? What are the challenges with physical data center? Why should I go for a cloud? That we discuss tomorrow class, same time, 10 o'clock. Any questions?
No, sir.
So tomorrow we discuss what are the challenges in the physical data center. Why should I go for a cloud? What are the types of clouds? What are the cloud services? We'll discuss in tomorrow class. Okay guys, see you tomorrow.
Okay, sir.
We'll also discuss about syllabus. What are the topics we are going to cover in AWS? What are the duration? What are the prerequisite? Everything we'll discuss in tomorrow class. Okay, see you.
Yeah, thanks, Srini.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.